What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday? It's post-NFL Draft Monday, which is always a big show. Tons of stuff to talk about. The Titans have a full 2025 NFL draft class led by the number one overall pick, Cam Ward, all the way through the number 188th pick in Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan. So we're going to talk about all the great things about this draft class. We will get to our draft grades towards the end of the show, and how we're going to get there is we're talking about our favorite pick of the Titans draft class, our pick that we're most concerned about, the different twists and turns and roller coasters that this draft took us over the last 3 days of that NFL draft weekend. We had some great content over the weekend with the live streams with Easton, Sam, and I on Thursday and Friday night. I know Buck had a great show last night for primetime. Zach, you and I are here to kick off another big-time week of draft reaction, and you were up in Green Bay at the draft for most of the weekend, Thursday, Friday, and headed back to Nashville on Saturday. So welcome in. Hope you had a good trip. Looking forward to hearing some about that, and also about this, your thoughts on this Titans draft week. And then the end of show topic is new. I don't know what this beta version of Rockin Rando is, but you have my attention. So let's do it.
That's good. Very, very good. Yeah. Long weekend. I think productive weekend for a lot of teams. And we'll dive into the Wisconsin experience. First time I'd ever been to Wisconsin. I may start talking with a little bit of an accent here. It was
kind of sound a little Chicago in there, though.
Well, yeah. See that
you started talking about Polish sausage.
I need to go a little bit north. Yeah. I need to go a little bit north. Great experience, though. First time in Wisconsin, first time in Green Bay, first time seeing Lambeau Field and what the NFL did. A lot of Packers jerseys, more Packers jerseys than I've ever seen in my life. I've been to the draft 5 times. More singular jerseys in a singular city that I've ever seen. And so I'll share some more experience. Our social media manager, Jake Evans, and I went up there and got some really good content, got a chance to interact a little bit with Cam Ward and some of the draftees. And overall, very good experience. And so we'll dive into it. Titans, number one overall picked a lot of different players, traded, a lot of movement. Borgonzi finally kind of has his first draft that we can officially grade. So also curious to hear the chat. What do you guys think? So this is a fun show. Of all the shows we do year round, this is probably, I'd say, top 5 show. I like this show. I love this show.
Yeah.
It's raw reaction, right? Emotion, but you get a couple of days of rest, but still you have that emotion of new players on this team and where they're going to go. So we'll dive into it. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So keep it locked in right there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our X/Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. If you're an NFL fan, an NFL junkie, go to A to Z Sports NFL on Twitter and give us a follow there so you can interact there. On YouTube, that is the easiest way to ingest these live shows, whether it's this morning show, primetime draft shows. We'll have coverage of minicamp and so forth. But make sure you lock in and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, search A to Z Sports Nashville, hit the subscribe button, and like this show. It helps distribute the show. More people will interact. We'll get more opinions. And ring the bell. Live alerts. That is very, very important moving forward. On YouTube, you get the live notifications. It makes it easy. Whether we go live at 8:05, 8:07, you get the notification. So that's always a value there. Facebook, what's going on? Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around, and let's get this party started on a Monday morning.
Let's do it officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports here on a Monday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Also, give us that 5-star Google review. That helps us out as a company, A to Z Sports on Google. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process, even in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Bartram Injury Law, a crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away. at bartdurham.com, and Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all your insurance needs. That's what A to Z went to for our employee coverage at bartondrury.com. So, Zach, back from Green Bay. I talked to Jake on Thursday, a couple hours after you got in. He answered the phone. I said, you had cheese curds yet? He goes, yeah, I actually shared a basket. So it didn't take you guys very long to have some cheese curds up there in Cheesehead land. But overall, draft experience, how'd it go?
It went very well. I think there's a lot of walking when you're at the draft, and especially, in different instances. Detroit, there was a lot of walking. There's really not much else to do in Green Bay. We had an Airbnb in one of the houses around Lambeau. It was walking distance, but they set up, they had local vendors. I tasted the best chocolate milk I've ever had in my life. I'll never forget it. I think about it. I've thought about it multiple times, and it was just a little jug from a cow that they showed me, and it was delicious. So cheese was on point. People were so nice, excited that everybody was there. Like I said, a ton of Packer fans. But the setup in one singular area, like last year it was in Detroit, which was in the heart of the city. Kansas City a couple of years ago, it was away from the city a little bit. Nashville, as we know, on Broadway. Las Vegas is its own beast. But they had it set up where there was an NFL fan experience. Then you could go through Lambeau Field and then the draft stage. And the draft stage was in the parking lot and people galore. But the energy, the excitement, just the logistics, I thought it's set up very well. And then afterwards, after the draft, you could walk around, you can go grab a beer at the bars in the surrounding, very close-knit area. You couldn't, travel too far out because there's not that much there. But overall, I think it was a success, and I think the NFL would deem that a success. And great experience. I enjoyed going to the draft. This is the other thing, the last thing I'll say about Green Bay. I also judge not only logistics, but your merchandise, like NFL draft merchandise. Team store was the best run team store that I have been in. High bar, very high bar. They didn't have a size of a shirt that I liked. Guy was radioing in like, give me an XL. They went in the back. They hand delivered it. I mean, just bravo. So enjoyable experience overall for Lambeau and Green Bay, and a lot of quality players were drafted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and there was some excitement, and obviously it was the Shador draft after kind of the first round and the second round and the third round.
It was the Shador draft as Cam Ward was walking across the stage Thursday night on depending on which broadcast you're watching. But the Titans started the NFL draft with the drafting of Cam Ward. We reacted to that a lot Friday. We had a great show. There were over 3 hours of live stream Friday night for the second and third round picks. And here is the Titans draft class in its entirety. Obviously, Cameron Ward, quarterback out of Miami, number one. The trade back from 35 landed Femi Oladejo at 52 overall, edge rusher out of UCLA. And then at 82 overall from the Seahawks pick, Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. Day 3 started off, Titans are on the clock very first with Chimere Dike. So that's there's going to be a lot of pronunciation situations with his name overall, but wide receiver out of Florida via Wisconsin. Then 120 Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas. Titans trade up back again into the fourth round. So the third of 4 round picks was Elic Ayomanor, wide receiver out of Stanford. And then in the 5th round, Jackson Slater, a guard out of Sac State. And then a pair of 6th-round picks, Marcus Harris, cornerback out of Cal. And then Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan, wrapped things up from 1 to 188. The Titans' 9-man draft class. Zach, I know you had a chance to be within the media scope of that draft and really had a chance to look at the Cam Ward selection through a different lens than we all did watching on the television. So what was your quick take on the Cam Ward experience of the draft on Thursday evening?
I really like him. Man, I really like him. I love his energy. I love the vibe. I love how he answers questions. people have been watching this show. We criticize, we critique. We also give roses when deserved. But man, I just appreciated all of his answers to all of the questions. He was asked hundreds of questions over the span of when he landed in Green Bay to when he was at the podium with Warren Moon, right? And I thought that he was super impressive for his age, his life experience, which he's probably experienced a little bit more life because of the ups and downs, the different changes of scenery, all the critics that bet against him, and he's proven wrong. But man, I really liked Cam Ward. So player aside, just critiquing person and interaction and how I saw him handle some situations directly. Even after the press conference, I was around him and he was interacting with some other media members, and he made sure to talk to a certain individual, and they were trying to whisk him away. And he said, no. And he had a conversation. So, I was super impressed with him. And that has nothing to do with the football player, the arm strength, the IQ, the accuracy, the film room, all of that. That is just what I saw firsthand, person on person. And I think I understood why the Titans felt the way that they did. It really helped that kind of ring home for me.
Yeah, not only is he a really good quarterback who put up a ton of touchdown passes and a ton of passing yards in his college career, but he's somebody who seems very comfortable in who he is and comfortable in his own skin, and is confident in who he is as well, which I think is until Will Levis is no longer here, and then probably until beyond that, he is going to be compared to Will Levis. Will Levis does not seem comfortable in his own skin. Cam Ward, the opposite of that. He seems very confident in who he is, and he's not trying to be anything he's not.
Well, Will Levis will be a little bit a part of this show when it comes to my critique of Cam Ward, because I think you're right. I don't disagree with you. Just like, fair or unfair, Treylon Burks was going to be associated with A.J. Brown because he was the replacement. And whether it was a rookie year or due time, we've seen now both what Treylon Burks is, right? So, that's just how the game works. And so I agree with you. Will Levis, they will be connected. They'll be in the same quarterback room. I thought it was interesting that, because of Shedeur impacted Will Levis, in my opinion. I think if Shedeur goes first round and things fall somewhat of what people predicted, I think Will Levis has a better opportunity of possibly getting traded. But I think because of the quarterback and how they fell, I think that was a distraction of moving Will Levis. And I don't have any inside information if the Titans attempted or if they took phone calls or if they called, but I do think that was an impact.
And I'm sure we'll talk more about this throughout the week, but Easton had said multiple times last week that if the Titans don't trade away Will Levis during the draft, it wasn't for a lack of trying.
Yeah, and I believe that.
And so we'll see how that continues to play out. So, all right, so we've got the draft class. Now, Vanessa says Cam was the only good thing. That's Vanessa's opinion. Cam was the only good thing of this draft class. I don't know about that, but let's ask everybody this question, Zach. What was your favorite draft pick from the Titans' full 2025 NFL draft? What's your favorite draft pick from the Titans' full 2025 NFL draft? A lot of people are probably going to say Cam Ward, but the intention of this question is to go beyond Cam Ward at number 1 overall. But I understand if you're like Vanessa and you don't like anything else and Cam Ward's the only thing, then all right, that's how you feel about it. Don't lie. So what's your favorite draft pick from this draft class? I'll show them up on the screen again. Quarterback, an edge rusher, a safety, the top 3 rounds, then going wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver in the 4th round, a guard in the 5th, and then a cornerback and a running back in the 6th round. What is your favorite draft pick of this full Titans 2025 draft class? First, let me tell you guys about our new friends. Well, they're new friends in multiple ways. The Barton Drury Insurance Group is a customized solution for all of your insurance needs, a one-stop shop. And when Zach and I were looking to find out how can we take our business to the next step and get employee benefits and employee health coverage for our people. We were shopping around and we found Barton Drury Insurance Group, and that was the best match for us. They are a one-stop shop for personal and business insurance. They've got so many different things that they can sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella. That's literally just about anything that you could possibly be looking for. And they're also local, which is a big deal because local, they strive to provide excellent customer service, but they also want to take the time to make sure that you guys understand your insurance policies, because insurance is very intimidating with all the different long words and 4-syllable words and legalese and that kind of stuff. So they can make sure to help you, walk you through whatever it is that you need extra explanations with. The Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all your insurance need, online at bartondrury.com.
A to Z Sports. I saw some come in over the weekend, which is always a good thing. Make sure you like, subscribe, and give that Lou Man 5-star special. We had a couple of 5-star specials come in. We get email notifications, very kind words, truthful words too. That's what we seek, is the truth. No lies spread here. Lou Man 5-star special. That means you go to Google, type in A to Z Sports, and give us a 5-star Google review if you believe that we deserve a 5-star Google review, and like and subscribe to the show.
All right, Zach, I'll send you the chat, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Favorite draft pick from the Titans 2025 NFL draft class. I mean, you can go Cam Ward if you want. I would hope people can be more creative and go a little deeper than just the number one pick overall. But Zach, what are you seeing from the chat?
All right, scroll. All right, we're going to start with Gunnar Helm from Steven. We'll dive into all of the draftees, but Gunnar Helm right there, Slater, Ayomanor. Let's see. I think this is going to be the fan favorite because where he was picked, position that he was picked, and I think ceiling. But we shall see. Mark D says the Penn State safety. Rambo says Cam. Gunnar Helm right there. Ayomanor right there from Darius. Slater. Ayomanor right there. Elic. Ayomanor. Helm. Cam Ward. Ayomanor. Gunnar Helm. Ayomanor. Elic outside of Cam. The Stanford wide receiver. We got a Restrepo, an LOL Restrepo, but
I mean, he's not a draft pick, but he's part of this rookie class as of now. Undrafted free agent Xavier Restrepo, All-American level receiver with Cam Ward at Miami. Undrafted because he ran a super slow 40-yard dash. He's very undersized, but he's very savvy, can get open, can do a lot of things and make plays. We've seen that. But he does, in fact, sign with the Titans as an undrafted free agent on Saturday evening.
A fan favorite and a Cam favorite. I think that was pretty obvious of their connection. Tight end, so going Gunner right there from Eric. Superman Mullins from Amar. Ayomanor from Mike. Gunner. Femi. This is our first Femi from John McDaniels. We'll talk about Femi. Let's see, Winston Jr., Helm as well. Chris Frazier is giving a grade. We will get to that here a little bit later on in the show. Restrepo, Elic from Kyle. I say Restrepo. This is interesting. Femi, dude is going to be a leader of this defense from Daniel. Gunner, there coming right there. Ayomanor from Big Ten Jeff. Great value for a good wide receiver. And I think value was, the surrounding talks with Elic Ayomanor. I think knowing a little bit more about him, I've actually got a rundown because I started to study him after he was selected. I needed to know more. I did that on a couple of the offensive weapons that I'll get into, but that's a fan favorite. Ayomanor, Winston Jr., Gunnar Helm, Winston Jr. right here, Helm. Austin, where do you reside on your favorite draft pick and or draft class
rookie
attendees?
Classes.
For the entire draft class, what was your favorite?
I have to go with Ayomanor. I mean, I think he is the most popular answer. I think for the value of getting him, Stanford wide receiver, 6'2", over 200 pounds. He put up almost 300 yards receiving against Colorado 2 years ago. A lot of that damage was done against the number 2 overall pick in this class behind Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, who is also in your division. So that's very interesting as well. But so, Zach, I'm going to take you down a emotional path because it's Friday night. The Titans are the 35th pick overall. There's a lot of big-time talent left on the board. And Sam Eason and I are right here talking through all this. And we've all said, you gotta trade back. You got to get more picks. You have to get more talent. That's what they've been talking about since Mike Morganzi took the job. And so they do trade back. They trade back to 52, 17 spots. We're like, it's kind of far. And they get 82 overall. Then they go get Femi Oladejo, UCLA edge rusher, who's only played 10 games at that position. He was an inside linebacker for most of his career before that at Cal and at UCLA. So it's a high upside guy. And we're thinking, that's what Morganzi said earlier in the week. Year 2, year 3 type player is where they want to focus on. Okay. All right. Whatever. Then at 82, it's got to be a receiver. But you start to see all these guys go off the board at the receiver position. Kyle Williams, Jalen Knoll to the Texans in your division. There's a bunch of other guys. Tesla, you see Besh. You see so many receivers go, and it's the 82nd pick overall, and I'm pissed. I'm frustrated on that live stream. I'm like, there's nobody that I want at 82 right now. But if you would have told me that Elic Ayomanor would be the 82nd pick overall to the Titans in the 3rd round, I would have been happy with that. And they got him at 136. I thought they were going to draft him at 103. I went to bed Friday night thinking the Titans were going to get one of the 4 wide receivers of Ayomanor, of Horton, and a couple other guys that were still Royals out of Utah State. There was a couple guys I thought they would get. Restrepo was one too. And they got 2 of them. Drafted one, undrafted free agent the other. The fact that they got Elic Ayomanor at 136 is crazy. And that's going to impact my draft grade quite a bit once we get to that question later in the show. But Ayomanor as a 4th round pick and your 3rd, 4th round pick is incredible value that I would have been I don't think anybody would have complained watching our live stream Friday night if 82nd overall, Stanford wide receiver, Elic Ayomanor. I mean, all right, 3rd round receiver. Good job. Good pick. You did it. You got an edge and a receiver. And after trading back on day 2, nobody would have complained to that. So he's my favorite.
I liked it. I didn't love it, I think, as much as everyone else. Doesn't mean that I dislike it, but I think a little back history, because I started to do some research on him. He did in high school, and I don't know if you knew this, he did tear his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. That is a pretty serious injury. He's bounced back since then, but look, it's reference. You just need to know this. He has superb games. You saw that against Travis Hunter. Everybody's talking about that singular game 2 years ago, right? Can't take that away from him, and I don't think you should. I think he has and comes down with some spectacular catches at times.
Yeah.
I think the one, maybe multiple knock on him is his ball skills with his hands. He's not great there. He has some issues with catching the ball consistently. And as a receiver, that's not a great characteristic to have. I think to counter that, I think he is can be coached. I think that is one thing that is learning a little bit more about him is that coachable. That's not all wide receivers are coachable, right? But I think he has to concentrate on his ball skills and his hands when the ball comes his way. And you can go back and look at film. YouTube obviously has a ton of different things. So I think he needs coaching there. Maybe that's a good range of the jugs machine. Yeah. But he didn't have a great passing offense, so you got to also give him some credit there.
Been in a tough spot.
He has
been going through it.
He has. But I think those are some of the reasons why he maybe fell as what we were talking about, right? So he's not my favorite. I don't dislike it, but I do see the love surrounding him.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I hope he proves me wrong.
He's also, because we talked about him leading up, because Easton and I played a game of would you take yay or nay at 35 overall? Like if they had nothing and they could not get out of 35, would you take? And we had I think 3 edge rushers and 3 receivers, and Easton added Ayomanor as the 7th player. And it was a kind of maybe not at 35, but he's climbing. And so the fact that he fell to 136 is kind of crazy. Obviously, drafts are wild. Shador didn't go to 144. Like, drafts have weird things. There's runs that happen on some guys, and guys get overdrafted. You never know how teams have guys on their boards compared to others. But I think there's phenomenal value. But he's also been viewed, and this is not the biggest of deals, but it's important. But he is the number one blocking receiver in this class, in the entirety of the class. Like, he's the best blocker of any other person in this wide receiver draft class. And he's also has the ability to make some big time catches too.
And that's why I think he'll more likely be on the field, because there's value there. Like, if he earns his way on the field, that's like, the pro-con list that all these coaches do of, all right, we're going into Sunday. Who do we need on the field? Who can do things that maybe other guys can't? It's like, it's the special teams factor. Right. You get cut because you only do one thing really well. If you do multiple things very well, you get more opportunity, and opportunity is everything at where he was selected.
Yep. So Zach, what's your favorite pick?
All right. Well, I am going to be honest with everyone. My favorite pick is Cam Ward.
Okay, that's fine.
And look, fair, foul, whatever you want to say. I have a backup, so we can kind of get into that a little bit. But my favorite pick is Cam Ward. I respect the way the Titans went about it. And I get it now. A couple of weeks ago, Easton and I were talking about how the Titans could have played the Toro game. Bull coming at you, Toro. They could have done that. They could have gone out and at least talked to Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston and talked to Russell Wilson and made a low ball offer and had the talks, leaked reports to reporters, and played the game so they could get more trade value, get the Giants to give out a second, really a third first-round pick, right? Like, they could have done that, but they didn't. And they didn't because of Cam Ward as the person and obviously Cam Ward as the player. You have to have the skill set on the field to even be in that conversation. But I love this answer. I love it. Sitting in the press room after Cam Ward was drafted, they asked him, why are you going to be successful in the league? This was his response.
I just think just how I represent myself, how I want to represent myself. And I think the biggest thing is that I don't care what the outside world thinks of me. The only opinion that matters to me is myself in the building, in my locker room. And so that's who I am. On the football field, I'm a gunslinger. That's who I'll always be. And so I'm excited to get to Nashville soon.
Damn it, I love that. I effing love that. You know why? Because it goes to no one cares. When you throw a pick, no one cares. That's his mentality. There's going to be ups and downs, but he doesn't care what you think. He doesn't. And this goes into what I believe. I think Will Levis cares too much what you think. The Cuts commercials, the mayo, the protein powder, all that bullshit that we've been seeing for a year on Instagram, on our televisions for a really bad quarterback. That is not Cam Ward. Doesn't mean he won't get endorsements, and he probably will earn that because he's the number one overall pick and not a second round pick. But we're not going to have to deal with all that extracurriculars that, I want to be perceived as such. I'm going to play it again because I love the answer. Listen to it.
I just think just how I represent myself, how I want to represent myself. And I think the biggest thing is that I don't care what the outside world thinks of me. The only opinion that matters to me is myself in the building, in my locker room. And so that's who I am. On the football field, I'm a gunslinger. That's who I'll always be. And so I'm excited to get to Nashville soon.
Business. That's why he's my favorite.
Well, I think you look at the juxtaposition of Cam Ward next to Shedeur Sanders, and one of the reasons why it's being discussed about why Shedeur fell is because his main thing wasn't the main thing, or perceived to not be the main thing. And when you keep the main thing, then people like that. When you don't, then that's viewed as distractions. And so I got to go back to Shedeur and to Will Levis. There's the famous clip that has gone viral multiple times of Will Levis, the Manning Passing Academy, as a counselor for young quarterback kids. And he has a chance to ask Q&As to Peyton and Eli, who are up there in front of all the college quarterbacks. And Will Levis asked about marketing opportunities. Like, you've got Peyton Manning and Eli Manning in front of you with the ability to do whatever you want to ask. And you ask about the marketing opportunities and how to handle and manage those. And then you see workout videos of Shedeur and Cam, and they're working out together, and Cam's dogging Shedeur, and Shedeur's walking to the sideline. Cam's like, oh, you're going to go ahead and get some more water? You're already getting water? Already water break, Shedeur? And Shedeur Sanders says, I'm getting Gatorade. They pay me to drink Gatorade. And while that might be a sick line for the kids these days, NFL teams are like, okay, this guy's worried about what he's paid to drink instead of just working. And you always have to put that into your situation, forcing it in there. Nobody likes that.
You know what always works, Austin? Hard work.
Yeah.
Always works. History of time. In the history of time of mankind, you know what always works? Hard work. Not Gatorade, Powerade, No Aid, Band-Aid.
Cam he came back and said, football pays me. Keep the main thing, right?
And Austin, that's why I was so perturbed about Will Levis. You guys attacked me. Oh, cuts is okay. All this stuff, protein powder. Man, he's getting his bag, man. No, let's settle into what that was. And I've stood by that, and I stand by that all of that is a distraction for a not very good player that really hasn't earned. That's been given to Will Levis. That was not earned. And I love the mentality of Cam Ward. That's why I now understand why the Tennessee Titans said, we don't want your future picks, New York. We talked about it at length for months. Hey, if that's on the table, you got to entertain it. Man, that's a hell of a deal. Yeah. They said no thank you because of the person and the player that they had the opportunity to pick, that unfortunately they earned the option of the pick of the litter. And they sat and they picked Cam Ward. And I'm really glad that they did. Will he be all-pro? Will he win a Super Bowl? Will he resurrect the franchise? I have no clue. No one does, right? We'll find that out. But at least it makes sense and it aligns. And I don't think anybody is questioning the pick.
No.
That's also important.
Yeah, nobody's questioning it. It was the obvious pick. Ben adds, did y'all see when he was asked by reporters of the draft what he was going to buy? It was what would 10-year-old Cam Ward buy? And he said dog food for my dog, which is, that's great.
I'm a dog. We want more dog.
Yes, my dog needs to eat food, so I'm going to buy my dog food. So look, I think Cam Ward's a great pick. I'm like you. I'm all in on it. Like, it's somebody that in the very beginning of the draft cycle, I was like, I don't think Cam Ward fits the quarterback style that Callahan wants, which is a little bit lackadaisical, like super chill and a little bit too risky and improvisational. But now that we're at the end of the process of learning more about the person, it makes all the sense in the world and of why they are all in on this guy.
I want to add a couple of secondary favorites because, okay. I just had to be honest. Cam Ward is favorite to answer the question.
I've already talked a lot about Cam Ward. You haven't, so fair enough.
I really like Gunnar Helm. I think that he is a tight end that the Titans needed. He's a seamstress. And he can also go out in the flat. They caught a couple of tight end screens at Texans, but at Texas, up the gut, Ewers used him a ton. And I think that can open some things up for Ward. So I really like that pick. I think he will fit well. And then the other that nobody is talking about that I again did a little bit more research over the weekend, DK. 2 touchdowns. Oh, actually, he had 4 different occasions where he was tackled at the 3-yard line. Now, he didn't get in the end zone, so he doesn't get credit for it. I'm not crediting him.
Yeah.
But big play guy that has speed, crossing route central. It's not crossing route Corey. I think that he is a good pick. And I think he needs to be a good pick because they had all day to figure it out, right? And that was the guy that they chose. Not a great stellar Florida offense, got better throughout the year as they figured out the quarterback situation. But I actually liked that pick. And I think if you give me a choice to pick him or Ayomanor, I actually pick DK.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I take the production. I think production matters in college, and Ayomanor was way more productive than DK in college. Now, look, the Florida passing offense was a disaster for most of the year. And look, but hey,
and they also faced the hardest teams in the country.
Yeah, and look, DK had me sweating on Saturday, October 12th, when he caught a touchdown pass from DJ Lagway in the end zone to tie the game in Knoxville.
He helped beat Ole Miss in the swamp late in the season.
He's got return ability. So I don't dislike the player. But we'll talk more about DK.
And Curtis, I agree. Very intriguing. So I'm with Curtis right there. I like DK. I think, honestly, if I could rank them just as favorites, Cam Ward's 1, DK's 2, and then Gunner would be 3, and then the rest.
All right. So we've got super chats galore. Let's do our next question before we get to the super chats, because I want to get both sides of the coin on this, because we've just spent a lot of time talking about our favorite. What Titans draft pick do you question the most from the weekend? What Titans draft pick do you question the most from the weekend? So we'll get your thoughts on this. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn. Any injury that pops up in life, just like in football, things happen, injuries happen, and you need somebody to help you get back on the playing field of life. And the Bone and Joint Institute can do that for you, just as they have for me. The last couple of years, had some soft tissue type injuries and had to go get them taken care of, and was able to do that and get educated about how to manage those injuries at home afterwards. And the Bone and Joint Institute has all of the resources at your disposal under one roof in Franklin, Tennessee, off I-65 and Highway 96, next door to Williamson Medical Center. They've got all the great physicians, doctors, surgeons, equipment, rehab facility, specialists, support staff, everything right there. Great people, a great team in Franklin. Book an appointment if you need online, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, make sure that you like and subscribe on all of our socials, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I mean, we got all the socials. So hit us up there for your favorite Titans content, digital content. It's the best in the game. And give us that Lou Man 5-star special. That is, go to Google, type in A to Z Sports, give us a 5-star review. Be a part of the hundreds now that have done that. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys. That's the 5-star review on Google.
All right. So, Zach, what's a draft pick you question the most? So, not saying that you hate it. You don't have to hate it. You could if you want. But what draft pick / decision do you question the most? Do you have any in the chat you want to get to?
Yes. So, look, I think that this is not surprising. You got probably between two guys, Harris and Femi. I'm just going to go Femi.
Time out. If you're questioning the 167th pick, then that's a good draft. If that's your biggest question, then you're questioning the no, he wasn't even that. He was 183. Excuse me. If your biggest question is the 183rd pick, then good draft.
Femi right there.
Now, the 52nd pick, if you're questioning that's different.
Right. DK over Scattaboo. Scattaboo, that was an interesting thing that went down as well. Femi, Harris, Restrepo from Mario. You know, I think Restrepo is a flyer. You take the flyer every day of the week, right? Because you know what Restrepo could turn into in like the production? I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be Wes Welker, okay? But could he give you what like Hunter Renfrow gave the Raiders for a season? Like, if that happens, that's a huge win.
I mean, he's an undrafted free agent. Who gives a damn?
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like you're paying him. His signing bonus might be like $20,000.
Let's see. Kyle says, unfortunately, DK run DK and deep on a deep post in game like the Raiders use Henry Ruggs. Let's see. Winston Jr., Femi, Harris, Harris, Femi, DK at that spot that they took them. You knew that they were going to have pushback because they did have that pick. They had all day to decide. Obviously, it's the Cal cornerback, Harris. I mean, also, they're getting a lot of Harrises over here in the chat. Femi, Harris, the UCLA DN, Femi, in question. Pick 1 and pick 3. They're from Troy. Femi, because he only had 4.5 stacks. I understand it was 10 games at a new position. And I think, look, I'll just go ahead and say mine because it's pretty simple. Mine is Femi because it's a project. It is a move, change position. You are betting a very high pick on really your coaching staff. Can you change the way that this guy plays in professional football? And I think that is an uphill climb. Doesn't mean that it's not achievable, but like you hear this in the NBA more often. Like we'll take a guy who's 7'3" from the Congo, who's got just unbelievable talent, but he hadn't played basketball. He picked up a ball.
He's only played basketball for 3. Yeah, it's like he just started playing basketball his junior year of high school. He played soccer before that. It's like, okay, let's see if this works out.
And I think very few does it work out to be like this. But look, stranger things have happened. But I think that to the question, which is questioning the pick, that's my answer.
That I have 2. Mine is also my biggest one is also Femi Oladejo. Just because of the opportunity that was on the board when you picked him at 52. Now, where did the Titans have Femi on their board compared to some of the guys that were on the board too? Again, every team creates their draft board individual of everybody else based on their scheme, their needs, what they value as far as traits and production. And from what I can tell, they had Femi Oladejo as a mid to high second round grade, and they took him right there in the middle of the second round at 52. So that's a pretty even draft value in the Titans' mind. But the reason why I question it is because, once again, this franchise, as much as I like Elic Ayomanor, as much as I like that, it's still you're now going to rely on 2 day 3 receivers to help this wide receiver depleted franchise, where at 52 overall, on the board, you had opportunities to draft Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, Jack Besh out of TCU. There's Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State, Kyle Williams, former Cam Ward teammate out of Washington State, Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas. You had so many different guys on the board at positions of need right there, and you went with a project. Then you also had guys that are not just wide receivers that you drafted that you could have picked that were not projects, like Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, a defensive tackle that you did a lot of work on. Ashton Gelati, a really good edge player who has production out of Louisville. So there's risks of who you might have passed on for a project edge rusher who is new to that. But you have to give the Titans credit because they did the same thing in the 3rd round with Kevin Winston Jr. And when Easton makes this graphic on the Titans fundamentals, and you look at desperate for another top 100 pick, check. Want 9 to 10 picks each year, they had 9, check. Build the trenches, I think you can see what they did with free agency, so check. Skill players who separate, we'll kind of come back to that in a second. But then the multi-year rebuild mindset, number 6. We know they're process-oriented to a fault for sure, but the multi-year rebuild mindset, you look at Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston Jr., those guys will be 21 years old for the majority, if not all, of their rookie seasons. And what do they have in common? Under 20 games started at the position they're drafted in college, right? Femi's got 10 games as a starter at edge. I think it's just 15 games starting for Kevin Winston Jr. at safety because of injury. He started 13 games 2 seasons ago and started the first 2 games and tore his ACL early in game 2 for Penn State. So those guys are ballers in year 3 is the plan because they like the traits. They think those guys with more production would have gone a lot higher because of their natural ability. But yeah, I think you absolutely have to question Femi Oladejo as your 2nd pick at 52 overall.
Well, and I think now you're going to like project versus production versus character. In the media room, when this was all going down, a lot of the conversation had to do with Mike Green.
Yeah.
And I watched 2 of Marshall's games this year, and the best player on the field was Mike Green. And it was pretty obvious. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Baltimore gets him after the Titans select Femi.
Yeah.
And I think, look, but he's got the unfortunate extracurriculars, right? Like there's some question marks there because of the
multiple sexual assault allegations is a problem.
You cannot run away from that, right?
And especially with how he answered the questions about them. So I don't know if you know where you're getting with that, but big time problems with Mike Green and how he answered the questions about those things.
But that was what we were talking about because, it's like edge rusher. That's what we're talking about. That's what they were talking about in the draft. And I think be interested to track both of their production. And I think
Mike Green wasn't on the board.
See, and maybe he was off because of that, right?
There are 3 players that I know for a fact were not on the Titans draft board, that they were not going to touch them regardless of where the value would be. Mike Green was one, Luther Burden another. They didn't trust the football love box.
I love that they didn't go that direct. And side note, just because we're on the second round, bravo, they traded. Now, they did trade pretty far back. I didn't know the teams that they were talking to, but the Seahawks were a little bit further back, and I think they missed out on some opportunity, but you're only as good as the teams that are willing to you're talking to. But trading back to get more picks was the absolute correct decision, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Luther Burden, let him go.
And I told people Thursday night and Friday that neither Luther Burden or Mike Green will be Titans Friday, and they weren't, because both those guys were off the board, and also Isaiah Bond was off their board too, who went undrafted completely out of Texas because of some other situations as well. So I know for a fact those 3 not on their boards. Green and Burden better players than Bond, but not options for them. So
I thought the other option that they could go just as a personal pan.
Yeah.
Trey Harris. He goes a few picks later to the Chargers. Groin issues, which, that's soft-ish, but I thought that they could entertain that. I don't know where he was on his board, but Femi is going to have to really prove that he can play in this league and develop and grow. And I think points were made of his youth. I think that's valuable. We'll see how he trajects.
Yeah. Ken says this: Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons character issues the Titans drafted. Well, let's remember that Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons were drafted by different general managers from each other, and also a different general manager that was drafting now, right? But again, Mike Borgonzi, who was in Kansas City, was a part of drafting some questionable people as well. But
he really didn't do that this year.
No, but what Borgonzi said is that you might have some things in the past that are not great, that are bad, that are whatever. Like people have those, right? It's, have you learned from them? Are you a better person from going through that? And do you have remorse? Are have you actually learned from that and show guilt? And from the reporting, Mike Green doesn't. There's been some cryptic tweets from NFL media members being like, yeah, I've heard some not great things about how Mike Green answered questions about his sexual assault accusations and allegations, but
and those can be deterrents. They absolutely can. That is called the process, right? So that's why I'm not hating on him for not taking Mike Green. I recognize the football player he is, but that's why I also recognize the accusations and the personal stuff that you cannot ignore. But just talking about the options, because that's a second round pick and they really risked a project, and we'll find out, he's a position change, production. I mean, these are things that you got to look at, right? If you're drafting in the second round,
totally.
We'll see how they do. To the Mike Borgonzi first, draft, I think he approached it Well, I'll get to the draft. When we get to
Yeah.
the draft grades, I'll dive into that because I think I understand a little bit more of the approach now that we know and we're on the other side.
So Femi Oladipo is the pick I question most, question most overall. I also question the DK draft pick because of where it was. It was 103. It was the first pick of the third day. You had 12 hours to think of on the clock to think about that. And you went with, I don't know if anybody, like, who were you trying to race to get DK? Like, so that's.
I think I've thought about this long and hard. I think that's why he's my second favorite pick. Mike Borgonzi, I'm now just gonna go into it a little bit. This is a draft that is pretty safe. You took your project at the second round, right? That's your risk. I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
But pretty safe for the future. Because Austin, what's going to happen is next year they're either going to draft a wide receiver in the first round or go out in the second round and draft a wide receiver or get them through free agency. So DK's position and Ayomanor, both of them, they will now be subset. Calvin Ridley, whoever you're going to draft at a higher pick or free agent is going to be number 2 receiver. They drafted this year their third receiver, which I think makes perfect sense. That's why I liked it. And if they took that much time to pick DK, do it. So I respect it.
I get it, but I'm also like, could you have traded out of that and gotten a couple more swings because it was the first pick of day 3? Like, there had to have been somebody that somebody wanted to come up to just get and be comfortable, and because they slept on it or were anxious about it when they tried to sleep, right? But you took DK there at 103, day 3, pick 1, and I think there was an opportunity missed potentially with that. So
here's a question, and just now I'm looking at the draft board. Number 2 pick was Cleveland, but they traded with Jacksonville. Was that live or was that prior?
That happened live.
Okay, so that was Jacksonville was not going to trade with Tennessee. I think that's your issue.
I think at 103, I think if you're talking about the first round, second round trades, maybe, but like at 103, like I think it's not that.
Division teams don't trade. They don't.
Yeah, for the most part. But
now I'm kind of gonna go back and say, was there a divisional trade? I would probably say no.
Yeah, I mean,
especially at the top. So all I'm saying is, you're sitting here saying you trade out of that pick. I don't think we saw who the buyer was. The buyer was Jacksonville. That's not a team that you're going to trade with.
Maybe not, but again, I get what you're saying, but I just think that there could have been somebody else. I don't know. Again, I'm questioning the pick of DK at 103 when I felt like you didn't have to do that. But all right, we'll get to our overall grades. You want to do that?
Yes.
All right, overall grades of the draft class. We've got 9 players to grade as an entity. How do you grade the Titans 2025 NFL draft class? Give us a letter grade. You can add A+, A-, all the way up to F, all the way down to F. So pluses and minuses are welcome as well. How do you grade this draft class? But first, let me tell you guys about Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to be paid for what you go through, and our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law can do that and help you through that process. A crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. Your big truck wreck is Bart Durham Injury Law's fight for justice. And you can reach the Bart Durham Injury Law team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. 615-242-9000. That's the phone number, 615-242-9000. Attorneys are available to meet wherever and however is most convenient for you, including virtually, or you can go check out their downtown Capitol View, Nashville location in their offices where they have super easy parking. But they've been in business for over 50 years, since 1975, now led by Blair Durham, the great Nashvilleian, doing a lot of things for the community behind the scenes, also a Marine veteran, doing great work there for the entire Bart Durham Injury Law team. Once again, the phone number is 615-242-9000, online, bartdurham.com.
A to Z Sports, make sure you like and subscribe and get that 5-star special. I actually saw, and plus we get super chats a little bit later. So Still working through the course of the show. After the show, though, go to Google, A to Z Sports. Give us that Lou Man 5-star special. We appreciate each and every 5-star that we get to help our Google reviews.
All right, letter grades. What are you seeing in the chat?
A lot of grades. So we'll look. I'll try to touch on as many as possible. I think this will be rapid fire. Ken goes C-. Isaac goes B. B- from Joe Morris. Eric goes B+. Hayden with an A. Luke goes B-. Caps is not capping with B-. Mr. Cloud 2332 is B. Awaken to the internal.com is A. Daniel goes A. Derek goes A. Kyle Wood B+. Bustin' Diamonds goes A-. Rooney goes B-. Noah B+. Anthony B+. Tiger Eyes A-. Ken goes C-. Brandon B-. B from Titans. Guy goes B-. Hashtag goes A. Bearded Kunu goes B+. Michael B. Darius B+. Michael Schneider B+. C- from Ken. I think we're in like the B range now with averages.
Right.
B+ from Dr. David Fan. Curtis goes A. Noah B+. Richie goes C. Katie goes A. Mark D goes B. Tyler goes B+. A ton of comments. Adrian goes B-. Ramon goes B. Best class in years from Tiger Eyes. B+ for 2025. A for 2026 plus. So Anthony's are giving grades out for next year. Chris Frazier.
I think he's saying this class will age better. Is what I think he's saying. It will develop into a better class than what the initial grades will be.
Fan favorite, chat favorite, Chris Frazier goes A. And Joshua goes B. So a ton. Jeff Sawyer goes A-. Tons of grades coming in. So first and foremost, we appreciate the interaction.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. I think overall, as I kind of sift through, I think you're at a B. Your average is a B for the chat.
So not your grade, but the chat's average.
Yeah, the chat's average is a B, not my grade.
I think obviously this class is so heavily weighted on the success or not success of Cam Ward. But I think B+ is where I'm going to go. It's not an A because I think they could have done better. There are still question marks and lack of hype / expectations for edge and wide receiver because you waited the day 3 for wide receiver and you got an edge prospect who might be really good in 2026 or 2027, but you have such a big need now. I don't really know what Oladejo does for you this year. So that's where I'm knocking it down a peg or two. But I think B+ is a fair grade. And Zach, I said something earlier in the show, and I'm going to tell you how I'm viewing this draft class. I think this is a different, as I'm getting older, I'm choosing to look through things through a lens that's going to make me complain less. And I think it works for this. If you just shuffle around a few of these guys, like I said earlier, if they took Ayomanor at 82 overall, nobody's complaining. They got him at 136. I thought 103 for DK was a little rich. All right, just put him at 136. Kevin Winston Jr., high upside, but he's only started 15 games. He's coming off a torn ACL. All right, put him at 103. If you just shift those things around, you're like, okay, I'm in. Like, this is totally fine. And the fact is they got these guys all on the team. That's what's important is I like the players. I like the personal makeup of the players because Winston Jr. is a team captain. Ayomanor went to freaking Stanford, so you know he's smart. Gunnar Helm's productive. DK is a captain at Wisconsin, then was 1 year a captain at Florida. Jackson Slater gave up 0 sacks his entire career at Sac State. And Marcus Harris is a guy who transferred up. And Khalil Mullings, who we have not mentioned really once at all. Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan. Zach, do you remember the 3 players that were on the NCAA football cover that came out last summer? The video game cover? The 3 players.
Yours?
Yep.
Was Arch? Well, or no.
Nope.
He was just in the game. Carson Beck?
Nope.
USC guy? There's a USC player on there. Are you talking about the picture of them facing
the three main guys? There were three main guys on the cover. It was Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter, and Donovan Edwards, running back from Michigan. Khalil Mullings beat out Donovan Edwards last season at Michigan, and it was their main running back. So Donovan Edwards, who is being promoted as a big name of the game, was beat out by the Titans' last pick of the draft. So I think B+ is the grade I go with.
I'm higher. I'm A-.
Ooh.
Because Cam Ward, I've talked about that. I like how they went through that process and they selected him. I think he was the best pick. They needed a quarterback. They got a quarterback. Can't knock them for that. They needed an edge, but they traded. I was screaming from the rafters. What did you say? What's the best thing that they could do after the quarterback? My answer was trade. That was my answer last week. It was trade. They did it. So I can't knock them for doing it because that's what I thought that they should do. They did it. They got value. They got more picks. They didn't have a third-round pick to start the draft. Now they did. They addressed team need. And you know what? Borgonzi said that they weren't going to just go with team need. They were going to go best available player, right? Like that was something he said pre-draft.
Yeah. Well,
maybe they did that, but along the way, they needed an edge rusher. Check. They needed a safety. They did, right? They needed wide receivers. They got both of those wide receivers. They needed a offensive lineman to help fill in the gaps from what they did in free agency of changing their first round pick from last year in Latham to the right side where he traditionally plays, right? So the moves that were made, tight end. I think that they needed a big body tight end that could block and go down the seam that was different than what they currently have in Chigakonkwo. So
and Josh Wiley, yeah.
I look at this. I can't say it's an A+. I think the Femi pick doesn't. I can't say A+, but this is an A draft, so it is an A- for me overall because I really liked their approach. The other thing that I talked about last week, how is Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and Brian Callahan and the rest of the coaching staff, the front office, what is their approach going to be for the first time with Borgonzi as the general manager? I get it. I understood it. The Dallas Cowboys, which not many people understand, they needed a running back. They didn't take a running back till hell. It was, round 6 or something, right? Like they're scratching their heads. I have to give them an A-, Austin, because I didn't really scratch my head that much. A lot of this made sense. And I also go back to my point is they're going to draft a top-tier wide receiver next year or sign one in free agency. That is going to round out. Cam Ward is an investment. Cam Ward is not to win or go to the AFC Championship like Jaden Daniels did in year 2. That's not what they are thinking. They are thinking year 3, year 4, when they open up the doors to their brand new stadium. And I thought this draft made sense. A-.
I thought about A-, and I think Cam Ward could probably convince me alone just to bump it up to an A-.
You want to change?
But
Come
no,
on.
I'm sticking to a B+ because I still think like there is a little bit of risk with what they did on day 2, 52 and 82, going with guys that might be high upside, high talent players, but you got to develop them. And I'm going to question development ability until I see it. I like drafting players who are productive in college. I think that translates a lot of times. Traits, maybe not. Productivity does.
Well, and
more often than not.
Easy says, I feel those are good points from Zach. Thank you very much, Easy. But to make an A grade, there has to be 0 questions. No, that's why I put them in an A-. So the A- creates some questions. We all been in grade school. I didn't get many A's in grade school, or A-. But based on the scale, that's why they have A+, A, and A-. That's how I justified. But I still think they're in the A range. I liked it.
All right. Super chats. King VC says, lock in, like the show. So if you haven't done it yet, please hit that like button. Goes a long way for us. Amnesia says, for the first time in several years, I'm excited, not just because of drafting Cam Ward, but signings were excellent. A whole new era is upon us. So Amnesia pumped about just the Titans.
I will say that
you
feel that. You feel that a new era. You got the Titan blue jersey. You got number 1. You got Warren Moon. You got storylines. And you got, filled needs across the board within the roster.
Yep. Noah has 2 super chats real quick. Says the draft was crazy. We were maybe 2 of probably 30 Titans fans there. Most of day 2 was defending Traylon Burks against a Jags fan who said we might have Traylon, but at least we're not so desperate for talent. We tried Tebow as a tight end. So I don't know why you're defending Traylon Burks.
Well, to Noah, this was not a draft that Titans fans should attend because there was no Cam Ward was going to go there and then leave.
And then day 2, you had 1 pick and that was it.
Yeah. So I wasn't surprised. I didn't see many Titans fans. I saw a handful. Maybe I saw Noah if he was wearing a Titans jersey. But
did you see an AJ a Brown Titans jersey or a Traylon Burks jersey? Noah's saying he's the final jersey.
Because if I saw Traylon Burks jersey, I would have taken a picture and I would post it up on our socials saying this guy needs to get his brain checked.
He's the final Traylon Burks defender, Noah.
Well, best of luck.
Yeah, right.
He's a bust. Yeah, bust.
Yep. Amnesia says, question, if they're building for the future, where does Callahan fit into that? Does he get more time if the team goes 3 wins again, or is he gone? I think that's a question for a different day because it's a good question. And there's a lot to that. You would assume that by keeping Brian Callahan, when you fire Rand Carthon, that they believe in Brian Callahan and didn't think Rand Carthon was the right guy to do the job that he was hired to do. You would think, but teams don't do that.
History shows his leash real short. Real short.
Yeah, but again, history shows that for sure. But who knows?
Look, if I'm Brian Callahan, no complaints. He survived the offseason, right? That was probably pretty stressful.
Yep.
They hired him for a reason. He now has his quarterback. There are no excuses. If he fails, he fails. If he succeeds, he succeeds.
Yep.
But he has his piece. And you don't get these opportunities a lot. And so I don't think Brian Callahan, he's not complaining. He's not whining. He's putting his head down. And now he has better talent than he did last year. And he's got his quarterback. If he only wins 3 games next year, he's gone.
Unless
I don't expect that to happen.
Well, it could be the Joe Burrow rookie season, right? Which I'm not wishing this. I'm going to knock on wood. So, but understanding that Joe Burrow got hurt and the team sucked.
Yeah,
again,
there are circumstances,
right? And the coach kept his job because the quarterback got hurt. So Power Hour says it's pronounced Ayomanor. So look, we're going to get pronunciation guides for all these. Is it Cam or Cameron? Is it Ayomanor? Is it Ayomanor? Is it Elic? Is it Elic?
Ayomanor.
Is Fimi Oladejo? There's DK, Chimere, DK. There's a lot of different things that we'll have to figure out.
I'm sure a lot of people yelling, I got Dyke. What's this Dyke guy?
I can't wait for the radio calls from, let's go to Tim in Milan. All right. King of the King says, folks assumed getting new jerseys like 2018 from Moon's comments about a new look. Turns out the NFL rivalries looks the NFL will show off. So
do you know anything about this?
I had not read or looked into it. I did see the headlines that came out. And if again, I know nothing about it. My initial reaction, if they are trying to go city community themed jerseys, just like every other league is trying to do, lame.
I agree with that. You hope that they do a better job than that, but they're going basically 8 per year. It will be the NFC West and the AFC East this year. The Titans will be in 2026. That will be designated for a rivalry game, a home rivalry game, I believe. And so, I hope that they don't make, the Mets are wearing gray and purple. Like, what are we doing here? The Mets, they have, and Reagan knows about this. Like, they got purple and gray jerseys. Like, what's going on? So they've done some weird stuff. It's gotten out of hand. I hope And traditionally, the NFL keeps a stranglehold around this. I hope that doesn't happen. I think all of our hopes, I'm a uniform junkie.
Yep.
I believe that they will probably reveal new uniforms in 2027 heading into their new stadium, and it will be a blend. And I don't know any information, so this is not reporting. It will be a blend between Titans and Oilers, probably have light blue themed. Like
that's what Warren Moon told Sam Friday.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the rivalry jerseys I think are they're one singular set.
It's a different thing
that you only wear for one game.
Yeah, yeah. So there's separate. There's two things. Like there's that, and then the Titans are going to do.
And then what I was thinking about, and the new helmet rule changes things, but if they go back to white helmets with like a red face mask to kind of lean into the Oilers theme, then they could do your McNair throwbacks later on to go the traditional, right? Because you go full circle. And
that's the whole thing about Cam Ward wearing one, is that they're not going to wear the Oilers throwbacks anymore.
No, I'm not talking about the Oilers throwbacks. I'm talking about the McNair original Titans throwbacks, right?
But they didn't have face masks.
They can cues that. No, I know they can change their face
mask. White helmets.
White helmet cues that because it's all marketing, right? So I definitely did. I did that gymnastics in my brain.
By the way, did you realize or did you see the fact that I totally predicted and had an epiphany that Cam Ward was going to wear number one because they retired and shelved the Oilers jerseys, that Warren Moon was going to give his blessing and they set the whole thing up? Did you see that? Because I did that. I nailed it.
I don't think that's how it works, but it is how it worked.
That's what I Tuesday morning, I was like, oh my God, this is going to happen. And then it happened.
If they orchestrated that, knowing that they were going to draft Cam Ward, then I'll give them more than enough credit.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Rockin Rando. What the hell is Rockin Rando? The beta tested in the show topic because the age game is now extinct. Time for Rockin Rando. But go check out your new ride at Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com in Lebanon. So go see Payne Bone. He'll help you save some money on that new car and give you a great car buying experience, whether it's a new vehicle, a used vehicle. They've got it right there on the lot for you. If they don't, they'll go find it. wilsoncountyhyundai.com in Lebanon. So check out our friends there. All right, Zach, Rockin Rando.
All right. This is a new game, and we'll see if it works. It may or may not.
It's a new game because Titans Kyle, even though you covered Titans Kyle's 6 wins with the green game over.
But
Titans
game
Kyle,
over.
At least I have a 2 next to my name. I'm very proud of that. I got there. It took me 2 years, but I got there.
That's all thrown out the window now because we got a new beta testing Rockin Rando end of show topic. So how this is going to work is, and the chat's involved too. I wasn't going to forget about you guys, chat.
Yep.
This has some age game theme, but it's not the exact same. What I am going to do is I am going to show you a picture of a player, and we are going to find out if you know who this player is or if the chat knows who this player is. This player could be from 1963. It could be from 1936. It could be from 2012.
Okay.
Who knows?
This is your favorite board game. Remember this guy.
and now this is Rockin Rando, a rando guy. And look, I'm not going to just show you Tom Brady, right? So like there's going to be, it may be some, difficulty, but first one in the chat.
Do I need to hide the chat?
You can, hide the chat. You got to hide the chat.
All right. Chat's in.
So I'm going to submit this first one in the chat to get it. I think this is, and you know what I did? I thought about this deeper. This is going to be harder to Google because, so if Titans Kyle, look, I'm not taking anything away from you, Titans Kyle, not saying you have an asterisk, but we're trying to prevent, right? That's why they make laws and rules. Rockin Rando. All right, here we go. This is your player. You need to guess who this player is. The chat, here is your rando. David says first and last name. Yes,
Yes.
first and last name.
Oh, man. It's a fairly recent Bengals picture. Because I can tell by that's Tyrell Dodson behind him in the 25 Bills, Centennial High School's finest. How about that? I just nailed the blurry guy in the background. Does that give me any points?
No, that doesn't give you any points.
I mean, I'm not going to get it.
And if you don't, that's okay. You know,
This is
it's
one
like
of
the
those
age
things.
game.
It's one of those things where, like, if you don't know it after a certain time thinking about it, you're not going to know it.
Yeah. And that's okay. This is why
like
we're in data.
Like the third tight end of the Bengals from
Here, this is what I was going to do.
23.
I will give you a hint, right? So you get to a point, you get a hint, and then if you don't know it, then it's we got to call it, right? He played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He plays tight end.
He wore the number 87.
He's wore the number 87. He's 6'5", 239 pounds.
He played against the Buffalo Bills one time.
And he went to Southern Arkansas. That is not every hint is going to be the same, but that is this hint.
Yeah, I don't know it.
No, you give up?
I don't know it.
Say A to Z Mercy.
A to Z Mercy.
All right. A to Z Mercy. Right there. We did have some people get it. And again, let's see. I mean, obviously you can Google it. We hope that you don't, because there is no Googling. The first person to get it, this player was from Paris, Tennessee. So that's
crazy. In that picture, there were two people from Tennessee,
right? Andrew Brown. That was Tanner Hudson.
Yeah, I still don't know it,
and that's okay. But somebody did get it. And look, somebody did. Clayton Smith said Hudson, but that does not count. We go first and last name. That was established. Tanner Hudson was the correct. So bravo to Andrew Brown.
Are you going to have a leaderboard for Rockin Rando?
I guess now I got to create a leaderboard.
I'll text you Andrew's name, Andrew Brown, so you have that for later.
Andrew Brown. Congratulations. You are our first ever Rockin Rando beta version champion. 1 of 1 right now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Interesting. All right. That's it. Make sure you like the show. 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 Oh, real quick. Devin, last super chat. For what it's worth, several pundits gave Titans an A grade. Also, shout out to TJ Lockett. How about Tyler Lockett? For congratulating all the draft picks after they were selected.
He is a classy. I mean, he's class act.
Yeah, it was great signing last week before the draft. All right, guys, like the show. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. Buck, live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.